leprechaun. This is a leprechaun. A leprechaun is a little man. A leprechaun is a kind of a fairy, like the tooth fairy. Yes, or your fairy godmother. It's a magical creature. Leprechauns are known that they love to dance. They're also known because they like to make shoes. Yes, they are shoemakers. And they have hammers and they hit their hammers and you can hear them tapping in the woods at night. When you're going through the woods, you can hear the leprechauns hammering their shoes, making their shoes. A shoemaker is called a cobbler. Yes. And another thing about a leprechaun is a leprechaun has a pot of gold. He's sitting right here on a pot of gold, this leprechaun is. And if you were to catch a leprechaun, you could get him to give you the pot of gold. All you have to do is say, I'm not going to let you go unless you share your pot of gold, unless you give me your treasure. If you tell me where it is, I'll let you go. But it's very, very hard to catch a leprechaun. I had a friend, his name was Seamus. And Seamus really wanted to catch a leprechaun. And everybody said, Seamus, be careful. Those leprechauns are tricky. Those leprechauns will fool you if you don't watch yourself. Seamus said, I don't care. I'm going to catch a leprechaun. So Seamus went off to a town where he heard they had leprechauns. And he went into this little Irish town and he said, I want to catch a leprechaun. Have you seen any around? And the store owner said, well, I do know that some people saw some leprechauns out in that forest there. You might go out there. So Seamus went out in that forest and he started to look around very quietly. And he had a big net to catch the leprechaun with. And he started walking, looking for the green, because he knows leprechauns always dress in green. And he was looking and looking. And then he looked over behind a rock. He saw something green. And he went over. And he was just about to come up the rock. And he grabbed his neck and he went, ooh! It wasn't a leprechaun. It was just a piece of green moss. So he went back and he was looking looking around. And he saw some trees. And he went over to the trees. He saw something green by the side of the tree. And he snuck up on that green. And he took his net and he went, oh! It wasn't a leprechaun. No. It was just some green leaves that looked like a leprechaun. Well, he was getting frustrated, Seamus was. And he was walking through the forest. And then in the bushes, he heard something rustle. And he said, I think that's it. And he very quietly went over to the bushes. And he thought he saw something green moving in the bushes. And he took his net. And he threw it over, and it was a leprechaun. A real leprechaun right there. A real live leprechaun. There he was. Seamus caught a leprechaun. And the leprechaun said, oh, sir, please let me go. Please let me go. Please let me go. Seamus said, I'm not going to let you go unless you tell me where your treasure is. I'm not going to let you go unless you give me your pot of gold. And the leprechaun said, oh, please just let me go. Let me go. He said, nope. You got to tell me where your pot of gold is. So the leprechaun said, okay, I'll tell you. Over in those trees, come with me. And the leprechaun took him over there. He still had the net on him. And he took him over to the trees. And the leprechaun said, at the bottom of that tree right there, that is where my pot of gold is buried. And Seamus looked. And he scratched the ground a little, and sure enough, he saw a piece of gold right there. And he said, ha ha, I've got your pot of gold. The leprechaun said, can I go now? Can you let me go? And Seamus said, okay, you kept your word, I'll let you go. And he took the net off of the leprechaun, and the leprechaun bounded away, dancing and dancing, because leprechauns love to dance, dancing away. Now Seamus started to dig, and he realized he couldn't dig that deep with his hands. He needed a shovel. So he said, let me go back to the village and get my shovel. But first I have to remember where this tree was. So he took his red scarf and he tied it on the tree. And then he went back to the village and got his shovel. When he came back from the village, he was looking in the forest. And he got to the spot where he was and he looked. And there was a red scarf on every single tree. That leprechaun had come back and marked every tree the same way as Seamus's tree. And Seamus didn't know which tree had the treasure anymore. And the leprechaun was over there dancing and laughing. That leprechaun fooled Seamus. They said, Seamus, be careful. Those leprechauns are tricky. But he didn't listen. Well, that's the way leprechauns are. And I have a leprechaun song. I'm going to play this leprechaun song on Bobby Banjo. Because Bobby Banjo is also an Irish instrument. You know, the banjo loves to play Irish music. Yes, it does. And I'm going to play this little leprechaun song called I'm a Lucky Leprechaun. I'm a lucky leprechaun, some say I'm a fairy. I'm a lucky leprechaun, I'm magical and merry. I am a lucky leprechaun, I'm little but I'm brainy. I'm a lucky leprechaun, my life is fun and zany. Catch me if you can and I'll give you my treasure. But better watch your step, 'cause mischief is my pleasure. I'm a lucky leprechaun and I love my dancing. I'm a lucky leprechaun, jumping and a-prancing. I'm a lucky leprechaun, I love to swing my hammer. I'm a lucky leprechaun, raising up a clamor. Catch me if you can and I'll give you my treasure. Better watch your step, 'cause mischief is my pleasure. Catch me if you can, I bet you can't get me. Catch me if you can, but I'll trick you if you'll let me. I am a lucky leprechaun, some say I'm a fairy. I'm a lucky leprechaun, I'm magical and merry. The magical leprechaun.